Hey everyone, welcome back to the Enduring Churches podcast. I'm Trent Young. I'm here with my good friend Alan Small, and we are excited that you would give us a little bit of time out of your day. And so we want to use that time wisely. This hopefully, as you're listening to this, it's like we're taking you away to faraway places, right, Alan?
That's right. You're jumping on an airplane for a little getaway. And hopefully it's not the want to get away moments that you see advertised sometimes, but I know we all have them. We all have those moments where we're just at that point. I got to get away. I want to get away. And you feel like you've ruined everything around you. And so we're going to talk about getaways today. Yep. So it's if you're listening on Monday when this comes out, it's Getaway Monday.
Yeah. But show up for work. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Alan and I were talking about this issue, over the last year. So many of the conferences and things that we would enjoy going to and attending things, they've all been done now over the internet. So we don't get the benefit that we typically would as being able to go to a place and going to a conference and doing all that. So we wanted to talk about why we need to get away. And so, Alan, let's kind of break this down on the why. Why do we need this? And so one of the first things that came to my mind is that our mental state needs refreshed. We've been locked up over the last year. And this morning, as I was preparing for our podcast, my computer was doing freaky things. And so I had to literally close everything, shut it down, and restart it. And as a tech guy, that's what the first thing we always tell somebody who's having issues. Have you restarted your computer? So,
yeah, that's important. We need to do that. And, I know some of you have come through the pandemic and you're as sharp as a bowling ball. Others of us aren't that sharp. And so, I know that mentally, especially for those of you who are in ministry, but every person in our culture, really, we're mentally exhausted right now. We all really need some kind of getaway. And you think about getting away, and there's nowhere you want to get away to because there's nowhere to go that's fun to get away to right now. And I get that, but you need to know it that mentally, you need to know where you're at mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that I think a getaway can do for us in that relation to that is that our perspective sometimes needs widened. If we've been in our home and doing everything from home or maybe sometimes to the office, our perspective needs to be widened and stretched a bit. So, Alan, in Elizabeth, Colorado, do you have good cell signal?
When I'm driving home from my office, if I'm talking to someone over my speakerphone, I know that they're cutting out. You've had that experience with me. Yeah. I'm about to hit the dead spot. Yeah. There's dead spots everywhere.
Yeah. Well, in Southwest or South Central Oklahoma, let me just tell you, we are made up of dead spots. Our perspective needs widened. And so sometimes we have to move and go to a place that's away from our home and that's one of the things I think that I really miss about going to a conference is having that travel time to let myself kind of restart and seeing something new.
Yes. Trent, it's amazing that, my house is situated. I'm about 6 miles from Interstate 25. And every time I cross Interstate 25, like Rochelle and I went over to the mall for a purchase the other day, I was thinking I can count on one hand how many times I've crossed this highway in the last year. It's unbelievable. My perspective has gotten so small that it feels like, oh my gosh, look at all these things I've not even seen. I didn't even know these things were going on in the world right now. And yeah, our perspective can really shrink up. And in the last year, for many of us, our perspective has gotten smaller, not bigger. and yeah, we definitely need to improve our signal there.
Hmm. Well, I'm sorry, I've been thinking through all these tech illustrations this morning, but that's just been on my mind. But another reason I think why we need a getaway is that our skills need to be sharpened. We need to continue to grow. Just like you said, sometimes I feel like I'm sharp as a bowling ball, but and so I need to be sharpened. And for me, thinking about my computer, sometimes, and I've been told by several guys who work in the tech industry and work on computers that, especially if you use Windows, Windows breaks down over time, and Windows software, Windows related software will break down. And I know Alan's going to say that's why you should use a Mac, but
Exactly. That's where I was going with that.
yeah, hey, just keep that to yourself. Anyway, but yeah, I've been told that you need to reload Windows and reload some of your Windows software every so often, just because it does break down. And so I was thinking about that related to myself and needing a getaway. I need to reload some of those things, maybe be retaught some of those issues that we deal with as ministers. And so I need a getaway for that.
That's right. I know we all like to think we have mad skills, but really our skills are kind of madness, and so we need to get those sharpened. We need to do that, and maybe that's to get away and read a book, or to do some planning. We'll talk about some of the types of getaways that we have, but you need to figure out what skill is it that you need to sharpen up, and use that as a time. One of the things that I like to do during a getaway is read a book on preaching. Every year I try to read at least one book on preaching so I can continue to stay fresh and capable as a preacher. I feel like I'm a good communicator. I'm an okay preacher. So I need to work on that. And so I try to work on that. And that's important for us to sharpen those skills. So that's important. I think there's another one, Trent. So tell us about it, because you got the illustrations. They're coming. They're coming.
Hey man, I am all over it today, dadgummit. No, the last thing in that is that the reason we need a getaway is sometimes that our relationships need renewed. Especially this last year when we've been stuck in our homes, locked away, and we have lost some of those relationships. I mean, yes, we've had Zoom calls, we've had phone calls, we've texted, but that's not the same as having a coffee with somebody sitting at a restaurant and just visiting, And so sometimes our relationships need renewed. And so it made me think about there are a lot of times in my network at the church, if I'm on Wi-Fi, and we have several Wi-Fi networks in our church, our campus. And so I can be connected to one, but if I go to another building, it won't reconnect to the right one, and I lose all signal there. So that made me think, I need to make sure that I reconnect with people that I've been away from for a while. And a conference or a good getaway can help us to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Those things are important. So let's talk about, Trent. We've got these great ideas here. Our mental state needs refresh. Our perspective needs widened. Our skills need sharpened. Our relationships need renewed. So how do we know? I think this is important. I don't think we ask this question enough. Which one do you need? I think that sometimes we just say, oh yeah, I go to this one every year. But which one do you need? I think this is an important question that sometimes we overlook.
I agree, Alan. And it, doing that prescriptive, I guess, look at our soul and look at ourselves to know what is the biggest need in our life, instead of, hey, I just go to this certain conference every year. It becomes a rut too. And after a while, you don't get the same things out of that conference that you did maybe the first one or two times that you went to it. So I agree, Alan. We need to ask ourselves some questions. One of the first types of getaways is a mental health getaway. Do you think that we need one of those this year?
Oh man, do we definitely need a mental health getaway. And so, Trent, you and I, we're looking forward. We're going to get together and have some mental health days in this June, and so we're excited about that. Right? I mean, those times are important.
Yeah. And maybe our wives will think that we need that more than but
No
yeah,
doubt.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
Rochelle and I are gonna introduce you guys to pickleball, so we're
that's
excited
right.
about that. Yeah.
My physically I need that, and then I have a mental state of mind. But yeah, I think it's important for us to kind of do a checkup from the neck up, as Zig Ziglar always used to say. Um, do how am I doing mentally? Um, am I dealing with depression? And I will tell you that has become the number one issue I think that pastors are dealing with in the last year is a sense of depression. And so this would be a great year to go and find a getaway of some type that will help you to deal with some of that and be
Yeah,
mentally
and
free.
whatever that is for you, this is more of the vacation type. This is really not there's not this is one where you don't want a big agenda.
Mhm.
You just want a chance to unwind and relax. We've done a lot of vacations. My favorite one is to rent a cabin in a place that we like to go and fish and hike and sit in a cabin and do nothing at some point in time. I will say that probably one of the most relaxing things I ever did is, we went on a cruise one time, and man, those folks don't even let you throw away your own trash. I thought, wow, this is like really cool, and no one could reach me. No one else could need me for a few days. That was actually a really cool mental health getaway.
Mhm.
But I know the cruise line industry right now. I know that can still be hesitant, but find some way um, to get away if that's you.
Oh, dude, you're pouring lemon juice in my paper cut here. I'm telling you, because the last two spring breaks we had scheduled and paid for a cruise to go, and of course, right as spring break hit last year, they shut down everything, and so our cruise was canceled. And then this year we thought, okay, we'll get to do it, and it was still canceled. So I need one of those, Alan.
Hey man, the Mercy Me Cruise 2022 now, because we were on that one for this year and we got
Mhm.
pushed out a year on that one. So I know, man, it's hard. It is a hard thing sometimes. Well, let's talk about another time and get away before we start crying here.
Okay.
Sometimes you need a marriage and family getaway.
Yeah, ministry can be hard on your family and your marriage sometimes. And so, Alan, I know that you and I both we meet with couples as prepare for weddings and things like that. We tell couples all the time, don't just do this kind of thing before your marriage. Go find conferences during the course of your marriage to go and be refreshed in.
Yeah, be refreshed, learn some new skills. Look at yourself in the mirror and see, how big of a jerk you've been or whatever, to help your marriage. When I was first starting helping young couples, I gave them a book to read, and we would talk through it that I was given, called "Love Is a Decision." It was a book that Gary Smalley had written, and many times the guy would come to the end of that book and say, "I read this book. You realize this dude is like very anti-guy in the marriage." And I was like, yeah, because we're more likely to screw it up, right? I mean, so let's just be honest. Let's just be honest about that. Um, but I think that was guys coming face to face with the biggest enemy in their marriage is what they put into it, right? I mean, and we all kind of get to a place at times where we do that. And I think this is an area where pastors are hesitant to put their getaway time into. You think, oh
Mhm.
well, we should have this all figured out because this is what we should be doing for people. But we all need that.
Yeah, we definitely need that. Um, Ministry can suck the life out of your marriage, and we need to be able to go and find time to revamp, refresh our marriage and our family time. So the
And that,
next one,
well, Trent, before you go, I was going to add one other thing, if I could here. I think it's important too to recognize the difference in your marriage. I know that some couples, they like to go to a marriage conference where there's a guy section and a girl section, and then there's others who like to go where things are together. and that's okay. Talk through it. Know what you're looking for specifically in that, so you can get the help that is most beneficial to you. Because I do think that that element is very important when you're looking at those kind of events.
That's a good word, Alan. Yeah, as you're planning any of these getaways, I think this is a great time to talk with your spouse and say, "Hey, what do you need?" Ask your wife, what do you need? Ask your husband. Say, "Hey, what's a big thing for you?" And so let's talk then about a spiritual growth getaway. When you think of that, Alan, what comes to mind?
Monastery. And the reason that does is when I first started meeting with a group of pastors out in my community, all of them had gone to this little monastery place that's not far from here for a week, and had this week of silence, which to me that just sounded horrific. I, that is not the ideal Allen getaway. I think I'd be clawing my eyes out and my ears off before I was done with that. Um, I, I like my music too much, but they had all gone and done this and talked about how wonderful it was to have a week of silence, and how that spiritual growth and just that time with God that way had helped them out. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is creeping me out. But then I'm looking at the joy in their faces and realizing that we all have that thing that means a lot to us spiritually, that refreshes and renews us, and for me, that's putting some music in my ears and going for a walk, sitting down somewhere and reflecting and thinking and reading, and it's different for all of us, right? But to find that particular thing that draws you into your relationship with God, and that is something we all need. It shouldn't end with youth camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And youth camp, Lord knows you need a spiritual retreat after youth camp. Oh my gosh. But and this is an area, Alan, I think that we need to be stretched in sometimes, and maybe to go outside. I know that when you're saying the week of silence, that kind of freaks me out too. But we all need to be stretched a bit. And we were talking in our last episode about the need for stretching and doing things a little bit differently. And I think this is an important area in a spiritual growth. Don't look for the same thing every time. Go to something different, something new, and you'll be more refreshed, I believe.
Yeah, I'm a guy who really doesn't like. I went to a conference one year, and I thought, oh, this was really cool, and so I took Luke with me back a couple years later, and it was okay the second time around. It wasn't as good as it was the first time around, and I've not really had the desire to go back a third time. I kind of moved on, and a lot of those, are like that. It's just, it's what you need in the moment, and understanding where you're at is highly important, and really where you need to grow spiritually too. Is it something that you need to work on personally, or is it something else, which would lead us into another one, which they're kind of related, I think, because of what we do, but that would be a professional getaway. And sometimes they're spiritual, but sometimes they're not highly spiritual. Sometimes they're just highly practical. Like right now, you could go to a professional getaway that's all about how to use technology in your church, and that's not really spiritual, but it's highly professional.
Yeah, well, and it helps you accomplish and enjoy the calling that God has placed on your life, Alan. And so there's all kinds of leadership retreats and things like that. Yeah, all of us as ministers, we lead a group of people, and sometimes we need to hone our skills on how to do that. And so finding those things that may help you in that.
Right. And obviously this is the biggest area of conferences and getaways for pastors is right here. That professional getaway. That's what everyone in the marketplace is going for, because it gets the biggest interest, the biggest crowds, and they're probably most likely the ones too that are going to be appearing back in person most quickly, because they're the ticket item that are going to draw the biggest crowds. So it's important. But what do you need professionally? Don't go just because you see, oh, I like this person, I like this person, I like this person. Are they going to offer something of benefit to you here and now? And how is that going to impact you? And then to also think about, what is it that I'm going to get that I know I'm going to have to translate to my environment? So, I mean, if you pastor a church and you've got 50 people to it, and you go to a conference where every speaker and everyone who's giving you guidance, pastors a church that's 10,000 or more, you've got a lot of work on the backside of that you need to plan in your getaway to translate that down to your circumstances and into your environment, and ask yourself, is this really the one that I need? Because I think one of the things we're seeing is that there's more and more conferences and more things geared toward churches of different sizes and different places in ministry that might be more impactful. So start looking around for those things that would be more impactful in that way.
Yeah, and the easy thing may be to find that conference, like you said, Alan, that's the big name or whatever. But do a little bit of due diligence here and find that thing that will truly benefit you in your ministry, not just a getaway. Because I've been to a lot of these conferences with my friends, and yeah, you go to part of a seminar, but then you duck out the back to go to have lunch together or go hang out in the coffee bar, and so, find the one that will truly benefit you, and not just like, well, I got to go to a conference this year.
Yeah, and that's because you need the mental health getaway more than you needed the professional getaway, most likely anyway.
Right.
And that's why we do that. And maybe that's okay. But you put a lot of money into a conference. If your church is paying for that, do remember that. So, Trent, it was a great use of the words due diligence. I was like really impressive. But that leads us to another type of getaway, and that's the planning getaway. Like a sermon planning retreat or something like that, which may cover some of these others, but that you need to get away and do some planning.
Yeah, and a planning getaway may not be at a conference, right? It may be more like you mentioned earlier, that mental health getaway that's kind of spending time alone, or maybe with your staff at your church. That may be a good planning getaway, not just for sermon planning, but planning your events and taking some time to encourage your staff to have some, go sit by the stream and take some time with God, and let's pray, and then come back together, and then pray together, and then work out what we see God leading us to do. And so it's a totally different type of getaway, but it can be really, really valuable.
Yes. And so you make sure you find some time to do some planning, and that may be just a couple of nights. It might be over a weekend or something. But find a time to get away to do planning. It's easier to plan when you're not distracted by everything around you. So you mentioned staff and volunteer. You might find a need sometime to create the getaway, to be the one who is the getaway maker for other people. And so you're going to put together a staff or volunteer getaway. Let me encourage you, if you're the planner of that is not your getaway. And if anything, right, it becomes the exact opposite of that. And to realize that. I know some people who put those things together, who plan a couple of days on the backside to decompress after planning those things. And I think that those moments can be highly beneficial to you, because you put a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of communication. Oftentimes you're front and center in those things. So remember that when you're creating the getaway, that's a different dynamic.
You're absolutely right, Alan. Dana and I have done a lot of retreats for groups, marriage retreats and things like that. And you, it's not a getaway. It's not a vacation for you by any stretch. And so you do need that time to just like, okay, now I need a vacation after the vacation. The same thing is true, I would say, of leading mission trips. If you're one of those guys who leads a group on a mission trip from your church, do not count that as vacation time, because it is not vacation time.
Nope, you are working hard, and you're stressed, and you're probably in charge of travel arrangements and everything that happens, and then you're receiving phone calls from home. Yeah, they're wonderful, but stressful. So
Yeah.
not a getaway. They make you want to get away.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of that, it just makes me think of that song the Southwest used in their commercial again. Alan, I want to get away.
Yeah.
I can't sing it, but yeah.
You sing a lot better. You sing a lot better than I do. So if we do that, we definitely would lose anyone who's listening today. But
Yeah.
anyway, you might want to get away right now. So
Mhm.
we're gonna kind of wrap things up and end things. And so we are grateful that you were here to join us today as we talked about getting away. And this is an important topic for us, especially as we emerge from everything. So plan your getaways for the remainder of the year. Make sure you take the time to figure out which one you need, why you need it, and know that. So Trent, let everyone know how they can reach out to us and give them any final thoughts that you have.
All right. Well, Alan, we do this podcast because we want to give you some times of refreshment, some encouragement, some mental health help. And so you can contact us if there's something we can talk with you through, talk you off the ledge, as it were. You can contact us at enduringchurches.consulting or .com, either way. And you can find us on Facebook. You can also just email us at Alan, ALAN, at Enduring Church.
Enduring Chalk.
Yeah, enduringchurches.consulting. And the same for myself, Trent, at enduringchurches.consulting. But we're here to help you. We want to be a blessing and encouragement to you as you go through tough things.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us. And we are excited. Trent and I did some planning recently for our next few episodes, and we're looking forward to recording those and bringing those to you. So make sure you also share this with someone. Let them know that we're here to help them endure as well. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.